Yeah, I always encourage people to tell white lies, we say. So little small lies. So maybe you're adding a few extra details because I always find that it's easier to talk about something that is true, or if it's a real story, it's a little bit easier to to tell the story, I guess, because you're not focusing on inventing something, making something up, and the language as well. So I always like to encourage like a little white lie, just maybe spicing it up a little bit. So adding a little bit of extra flavor, a little bit of extra flair, kind of adding some interesting, curious details
Mhm.
to a real story.
Exactly. And you can always stretch the truth slightly, which is like maybe not lying necessarily, but you are exaggerating, you're emphasizing, you're spicing up a story by adding some things that might not be 100% true, but they're based on the truth. Hello, 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 and welcome back, everybody. And yes, it is another little chit chat with my mate Finn. You've met Finn before, right? So he doesn't need to introduce himself again. Or maybe he does. But, Finn, how are you?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me back on. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing? How's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. It's been pretty full on, which is a way of saying quite intense. It's been packed. It's been very busy. I've had lots of classes, then I've had my usual group classes. So it's been quite full on, I'm not going to lie. But it's Friday right now when we are recording this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the weekend. And right now, the sun is out. So I need to go outside and take advantage of the fact that it is a sunny day because, the clocks have changed, days are shorter. So we really have to go outside when it's sunlight because if not, I don't know about you, but these short days really get me down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, we really have to make the most of the short amount of daylight that we have. So yeah, make sure you're getting outside as early as you can, I guess. And isn't there a thing called sad? Like it makes you sad having sad. So it's seasonal affective disorder, I think. Have you
Okay.
heard of that before?
I haven't heard about it. Like, when did you hear about this?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it's like a proper psychological, I don't know if condition is the right word, or like a diagnosis or something like that, or whether it's just a general thing that everybody gets. But yeah, I'm not sure where I originally heard it from, but it's just the idea that in the winter when it's colder and darker, windier, it's wetter, then you're just more sad than compared to in the summer when it's the opposite, when it's lighter, it's hotter, and yeah, we have more sunlight and more opportunity to spend time outside.
I mean, it's true that I've been speaking about this topic with different students and friends, and I'm like, oh, does it get you down? Do you get a bit depressed when days get so short? And like, how do you manage it? How do you cope with it? How do you handle it? But I know, Finn, you're quite an outdoorsy guy. So does it bother you as well? Does it get you down?
Mm, I think a little bit, yeah, especially if it's very overcast. So if the sky is just completely grey, if you can't see the sky itself at all, it's just completely covered by clouds. I think that makes it a lot darker than usual even during the day. So on days like that, I think I do. And if you go outside, maybe for a run or for a walk, it's just a little bit more miserable maybe than what it would be if it was a nice day.
Quite. No, agreed, 100%. And I mentioned that my week has been quite full on. What about yours? Have you had a kind of intense, busy, packed schedule as well?
Yeah, it's been pretty full on as well. Just a lot of classes. I seem to have ended up with a lot of back-to-back classes, which is, I guess, a little bit naughty as a teacher. You want to make sure you're having breaks, but I've just ended up with that. It's kind of just worked out like that. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can in the mornings before having a big block of classes in the afternoons. And it's working well. It's working completely fine. It's just, like you say, very, very full on.
And on that note, some of my students ask me, because I organize my own schedule to make sure that I have back to back classes and I have many classes in a row, because personally, I kind of prefer to have these periods of working hard and then long periods where I can go out, stretch my legs, do other things. But people will ask me, like, Lewis, how do you do it? How do you stay switched on for 4 or 5 hours in a row? And I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't mind it. And sometimes I'll stand up, then I'll come here to my office space, then I'll sit on the sofa. And I always try to move around and stretch to be able to get through so many hours in a row. How about you? How do you manage it?
Yeah, I think the same idea, sort of just in between each class, making sure you stand up, move around a little bit, whether that's going to the toilet or going to fill up your water bottle. Um, and if they are very back to back, so you don't have any time in between, then you are rushing. You are going as quickly as possible, running to the toilet, running to the kitchen to fill up your bottle, running back. Um, and obviously coffee helps as well. A good
A
bit of
lot.
caffeine always helps. But yeah, if you're back to back to back to back, then you don't have time to go and boil the kettle and make another coffee. So you have to kind of front load the caffeine. So to have it all before your classes. I try not to have too much because I don't want to become maybe dependent or reliant on caffeine. Um, but yeah, some days if it's a busy schedule or if I've done some intense exercise in the morning, then yeah, the caffeine definitely helps as well.
I mean, this morning, like right now, we're recording this at midday. I had a class at 8 o'clock. And what I did was have a coffee as soon as I got out of bed, literally, and then just before the class as well. So there was half an hour period of time. And in this half an hour, I had 2 coffees. So you can imagine for that class, I was half asleep, but at the same time, like, hello, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah, very kind of wired, we can say. And you get the caffeine, the jitters as well. Like I guess the shakes and the jitters. Yeah, I did that as well the other day. I had two coffees within half an hour and instantly, well, I was halfway through my second cup and I was like, oh, this is this is a bad idea. I don't think my caffeine tolerance is high enough for this.
I reckon I can handle it quite well, which probably tells you a lot about how much coffee I drink. Where I think 2 coffees, of course, they'll make me a little bit hyper, a little bit more energetic, but I don't really get the jitters. So maybe I need like 3 or 4 to start getting a little bit jittery.
And so what would you say your average coffee consumption is per day? How many cups is your average?
Well, when I'm at home, I always go with espresso. So no milk, nothing like that. Literally just getting my coffee machine, getting a capsule, putting it in the machine, and then downing a little espresso cup. And I tend to have 2 very early in the morning, and then I'll have another one around lunchtime. So usually it's 3 coffees per day. And if maybe I went out the night before, or I'm feeling really, really, really tired, I might go for a fourth. But I try to make sure that I never have any caffeine after like 2-ish.
Hmm.
How
Yeah,
about you?
there's been a lot of talk on, well, I don't know, maybe it's just my algorithm because I've been watching a few videos and now my whole algorithm is flooded with this sort of content. But about how having caffeine late at night or late in the afternoon really kind of disrupts your sleep. And I notice that as well. If I have a coffee at even like 4 o'clock, I can notice a difference. And say with the watch, for example, I wear my watch when I sleep, and I can see in the morning that there are slight differences, especially if that caffeine is a lot later, or
Hmm.
say if you eat a big meal right before you go to sleep as well. Um, but sorry, I've completely sidetracked there.
Sleep is
Yeah, I
important.
sorry, so coffee per day, probably 2. I think 2 is my
Okay.
average. Um, yeah, maybe 3 on a bigger day, and I try to go for 1, but it is normally, yeah, normally 2.
Yeah, I mean, one, it's just not enough. It's nothing. It's like water.
When was the last time you had a day without any coffee? No coffee at all?
I genuinely don't remember because I get withdrawal symptoms. So if I haven't had a coffee or a cup of tea, but usually coffee by like 12, I start to get a headache. So I actually maybe seem a little bit like an addict, like a druggie that I need to get my fix, I need to get my hit of caffeine. And if I don't have any coffee, then I must go out and buy it, no questions asked. So then, even if I'm away for a weekend or I've gone to stay at a friend's house, then I need to make sure they've got coffee. And if they haven't got coffee, I will go and pick up, which is another nice phrasal verb, which is actually used when people go and buy drugs. So I'm just going to pick up, meaning I'm going to buy drugs. So caffeine at the end of the day is a drug as well, even though it's a legal one. And I always make sure that I have a coffee in the morning because of my withdrawal symptoms, which means that if I don't have it, I start to get a banging headache and I regret it so much. So, genuinely, I don't even remember the last time I didn't have a coffee. Years and years ago. Um, how about you? Do you suffer a similar addiction?
I think I noticed that I was having coffee every day. So I tried having a few days without it, and I felt I didn't have the withdrawal symptoms that you're mentioning, no headaches, but I just felt very tired. So when I was in Brazil earlier this year, I think I went for about a month, at least 3
Wow.
weeks, maybe a month without any caffeine at all, and I feel like that kind of reset me a little bit, which helped. So now I'm just a little bit conscious of it. On the weekends, maybe I'll try to, or at least have one day, maybe on Sunday, where I don't have any caffeine. But yeah, when I have when I have the classes, then yeah, I can't not.
Great. Now, of course, we are recording this on Friday, and what I didn't mention is that we're recording this on Halloween. It is Halloween today, and to be honest, I'm not going to dress up. I'm not going to wear any fancy dress or costumes. I'm not going out tonight either. I'm just going to chill and take it easy because tomorrow it's one of my friend's birthday parties, so I don't want to be hungover and we're going there, but we're not going to dress up or anything. So maybe this weekend is going to be a bit strange knowing that it is Halloween, but I'm not celebrating Halloween at all, which I usually do. But to be honest, it's not my favorite celebration. It's not my favorite holiday. I'm not into like scary films, anything like that. I'm a bit of a wuss. I'm a bit of a chicken where I get scared very, very quickly. But what about you? Are you going to do anything for Halloween this weekend? And are you a fan of Halloween in general?
So I'll start with the last question. I'm not really a fan. Like you, it's not my favorite celebration. Um, I won't do anything in particular. I think tonight my girlfriend and her flatmate have invited some people over for dinner, and I can't imagine that we'll be sat around the kitchen table or in the lounge in in a costume, in a vampire costume or anything like that. I believe tomorrow I'm going to the pub to see some of my old friends, and I don't know, can you dress up for Halloween on the 1st of November? Is that allowed? Is that permitted within within
Finn,
the
you do
rules and
you.
regulations?
Go for it. Break all the rules.
Well, either way, I probably won't be doing that. Yeah, like I say, it's not my favorite thing. I saw a cute little kid walking with his mum through the center of Cardiff this morning in a very good outfit, head to
Okay.
toe in I don't know what it was. It looked like a pterodactyl sort of
Oh,
thing, a
wow.
type of flying dinosaur. Um,
Impressive.
yeah. So I think I'll watch and I'll admire from afar. But yeah, I won't be partaking myself.
Great. Fantastic. Well, after this little chit chat, this little warm up, the plan for the next half an hour, give or take, is to take it in turns to ask each other some completely random phrasal verb questions. And I don't know what the questions are. Finn doesn't know what the questions are either. So we might end up making up some answers, which is a good piece of advice. If you are ever going to do a speaking exam and you're going to do IELTS, Cambridge, Trinity, whatever it may be, if you're not sure what to say, make it up, you know, invent it, so to speak. And that way, you will always be able to show off your language skills and maybe tell a story, even if it's completely fake. So let's see if Finn and I are any good at making up answers. Or maybe we'll be able to tell the truth. Let's see.
Yeah, I always encourage people to tell white lies, we say. So little small lies. So maybe you're adding a few extra details because I always find that it's easier to talk about something that is true, or if it's a real story, it's a little bit easier to to tell the story, I guess, because you're not focusing on inventing something, making something up, and the language as well. So I always like to encourage like a little white lie, just maybe spicing it up a little bit. So adding a little bit of extra flavor, a little bit of extra flair, kind of adding some interesting, curious details
Mhm.
to a real story.
Exactly. And you can always stretch the truth slightly, which is like maybe not lying necessarily, but you are exaggerating, you're emphasizing, you're spicing up a story by adding some things that might not be 100% true, but they're based on the truth. So, that being said, let's get started, and I will share this document so everybody can see it at the same time. And well, I'll kick us off, I'll get us started by asking Finn the first question. So, Finn, can you think back to a childhood memory that makes you laugh every single time? So, can you remember something that happened to you when you were a child that cracks you up? You know, it makes you laugh. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, good question. There's one key memory. I don't know where, or I don't know at what age childhood ends. I guess because the next step is your teenage years. But I remember in my first few years of secondary school, it's quite a simple memory. There's not much to it, but it does crack me up. It makes me laugh every single time. And it's just one of my friends in the playground at lunchtime, and a seagull pooed on his shoulder, and it was a massive poo, and it went all the way down the front of his shirt. So there's not much to it, but it's
So poo makes you laugh.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, not if a bird poos on me. It's always funny when it's someone else, especially your mate. I think if it happens to some people, you feel bad, maybe you feel sorry for them, but when it's your mates, it is nothing but hilarious.
I mean, it's true that laughing at other people's misfortune is always quite fun. If, you already know this person or it's nothing too serious. So, of course, if somebody's broken a bone, you're not going to laugh. But if they maybe just fall over and they get mud all over their clothes or their face, or if a seagull shits on them, poos on them, then it will make you crack up.
Yeah, if it's just something that is very unfortunate and it's not an injury, they're not hurt, they're not in pain in any way. It's maybe something that's very embarrassing for them.
Clear. No, agreed. Nice. Well, I'll share the screen again, and now your turn. Pick another question and ask me.
Ooh, let me have a look.
Decisions,
Mm-mm-mm.
decisions.
Ooh, okay. About halfway down, have you ever had to give up something you really liked? How did you cope?
Hmm. Have I ever given up anything that I really liked, and how did I cope? Let me think. I'm not sure, to be honest.
It's
What
not
could I?
coffee, I'm guessing, from our
Coffee?
previous conversation.
I will never ever give up coffee unless the doctor tells me that Lewis, you're going to have a heart attack if you don't stop drinking coffee, which would be a very very sad day, I must admit. So hopefully, touch wood, it never happens to me. But what could I have given up? I haven't really given up much. Fortunately, I've been in good health quite a lot of the time, and I haven't had to give up anything. But I've mentioned on the channel before that I do have an allergy, and it is a nut allergy. And it's strange because usually you find out that you're allergic to something when you are like really, really young, like a toddler. But in my case, I found out that I was allergic to peanuts and other nuts as well when I went to a camp with school. And I think this was in year eight, maybe. And year eight is when you're like 13, I think. 12,
Yeah,
13.
yeah, I think it's you start off when you're 12 and you turn 13 throughout the year.
Hmm. And we went somewhere. We stayed there for a couple of days. We were sleeping in tents as well. And we had crunchy nut for breakfast. And I had never tried it. So I was like, okay, interesting. It's like Frosties, but with nuts. And I was devouring the bowl of cereal, but I thought it tasted a bit weird. So I was like, this is interesting, unusual. And then my lips started to tingle a little bit. And I was like, what's going on? That's a bit strange. My throat also started to become a bit inflamed and like to tickle me almost every time I was swallowing. So I didn't say anything to anyone. I just like walked away. And I thought, okay, this is just going to go away in no time. And I went back to my tent and I was like, oh, this hurts. This is not very nice. And I was like forcing myself to throw up, to be sick, to puke, to vomit, thinking that I needed to get it out of my system. And that's how I discovered that I was allergic to peanuts. And after that, I did an allergy test and I had to give up peanuts and different nuts, even though I didn't really eat them anyway for some strange reason. But from that moment, I was told, of course, well, you need to take an EpiPen in case this happens again. You need to avoid having different nuts. So I know peanut butter is really, really common and a lot of people eat it, but it's completely off limits for me. So to answer the question, I've never really given up anything that I regularly consumed, but I had to give up the possibility of having peanut products from that moment. Sad days.
Great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's good that it wasn't something that you regularly consumed. It wasn't your favorite food or anything like that, because I know people can develop allergies. I know
Hmm.
it can work both ways round. Some people have allergies and they kind of lose them, but then some people have no allergies and then develop them. So yeah, at least in your case, it wasn't your favorite food, your favorite snack that you all of a sudden had to give up.
Imagine if they told me, Lewis, you can never eat pizza ever again. Be like, no.
That would be a very bad day, a very bad day.
That might be worse than coffee, you know?
Yeah. 5 pizzas a day.
You know, just a normal day in my life. Okay, cool. Now over to you, a different question. And how about this one, just above the one that we've answered? And this year is coming to an end, so of course we can change it to next year. But what's something you want to take up this year or next year, like a hobby or an activity? And to take up a sport, take up a hobby, take up an activity is to begin it, to start it. What would you say?
Well, we actually spoke about this just before starting the podcast. So I want to take up uh, YouTube videos and vlogging, making English teaching content for YouTube. So that'll be a little bit of podcasts, but mostly kind of vlogs. There's I guess, a niche or a style of video, or maybe a teaching method in a way called
Hmm.
comprehensible input, which, especially during the last 6 months, has become very popular and many people are finding it very useful. I tried to find the time to make a few videos. I think I uploaded two and I've got one waiting to be edited. But by the end of the year and the start of next year, I should have a lot more free time in my schedule. So I'm hoping to take up the YouTube videos, I guess, taking it a little bit more seriously than I am now.
Right, perfect. Now, I've made a couple of these videos, and there's another one which will go out in a week or two. And I agree, it's quite a good method, and it has been trending recently. Um, but now I'm thinking, like, I've done one around my hometown, I've done one in my flat, I've just done one which is like 24 hours in my life. I say 24 hours, but I didn't record myself sleeping, of course. So it's more like 16 hours in my life. But from that point, I'm thinking, like, what else could I show? What else could I do? I'm running out of ideas. So, what would you like to show using comprehensible input?
Well, I just thought for you, you're going to have to sign up to another marathon. I think that could be quite an interesting one. And I know you're very fond of the marathons and you're very quick. I remember having a little stalk, so stalking your Strava and looking at your time, your pace and your route a little bit, because I'm not very familiar with Brussels at all. So
Hmm.
it is Brussels, somewhere in
Yeah, yeah,
Belgium.
yeah. Yeah,
Brussels.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
Brussels.
I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I remember being flabbergasted or gobsmacked, very surprised at uh, how quickly you did the marathon, especially because you said that you don't train very often. So yeah, I'm definitely quite quite jealous of that. So I think that would be, at least for me anyway, that's something I'd like to see from you.
Clear. The difficulty is recording yourself like this whilst running. And I did it the
Yeah.
other day and I was out of breath. I was like wheezing. I was like, so this is one of the parks that I sometimes run through. Anyway, see you in a bit.
Yeah, just the heavy breathing, the panting, the heavy footsteps with everybody around you as well. You'd have to be shouting to make sure you can be heard on the video.
Exactly. But now maybe you could do a similar thing, surfing.
Well, I actually the video that I have recorded that I haven't edited yet was all about a big swim that I did a couple of weeks ago in Lake Windermere, which is
Okay.
the biggest lake in England. So I guess kind of that style. And I was definitely less out of breath than your than your acting then, because it was very slow, very steady. So I could stop, and there were a couple of times that my girlfriend managed to film me, and I could speak back. But yeah, there's a little bit before, a little bit during, and a little bit after the swim as well.
It sounds cool. Everybody, check out this video when it is uploaded because I'm eager to watch it as well, given that Lake Windermere is in the Lake District, which is northwest England. So it's kind of up around my region. We actually sometimes go camping in the Lake District. I haven't been for a few years now, but we'd randomly take our cars, take our tents, pick a random spot, which is maybe slightly illegal, but hey, no problem. And then we would stay in a little campsite over the weekend. But the Lake District is obviously the north of England, so it's usually pretty cold. Like, how cold was it for you when you were swimming in the lake?
So I was doing a little bit of research, and I was quite apprehensive approaching this swim because I thought that the cold, because it took me like just under 7.5 hours, so I was going to be in the water for a very long time.
Oh my gosh.
So I did my research, and I knew that it was going to be anywhere between 9 degrees Celsius and 13. And I got very lucky with, well, the day itself. The weather was stunning. It was very sunny. There was practically no wind at all. And I guess as well, because of the year that we've had, has the weather has been very good. It's been very warm throughout the year. Well, by the UK's standards at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think the lake had retained some of its heat. It had kept some of its heat. So I also wore my very thick wetsuit, my winter wetsuit that I use for surfing.
Hmm.
So that's like the thickest that you could get. And I had some gloves and some boots. I bought a wetsuit hat thing as well, but unfortunately it didn't fit me very well. But I didn't need it anyway, so I think it would have been a bit annoying to have. So I just had a normal swimming cap, uh, my goggles, and yeah, wetsuit boots, and wetsuit gloves.
And you were in the lake for 7 hours.
Yeah, I think it was 7 hours and 23 minutes.
Like, why?
Um, it's just a challenge. It was a
Just
challenge
why
that
not?
I
Yeah.
signed up for. Yeah, so I did a marathon earlier in the year, the very start of the year, and that was a trail marathon on the coast path where I live in the southwest of England. So it's very hilly, it's very up and down, difficult terrain. I think in the world of running and trail running, they say it's very technical. So that took me about 7.5 hours as well.
Hmm.
And I quite enjoyed the endurance training and the endurance, I guess, racing, if you could call it racing, the challenge, the endurance challenge. Probably because I've not been very fast, I've not been very quick at running or anything compared to any of my mates growing up. So maybe the competitive edge within me wanted to one up them, so do better than them somehow. So if I can't go faster than them, I'll go further than them. So
Hmm.
yeah, I've always done a lot of swimming, so I thought naturally after the running, the next challenge would be the swimming.
In that case, if you've already done running, you've done swimming, you know what's next, right? Are you thinking about doing some kind of triathlon or some kind of like cycling race?
Actually, I'm sorry to disappoint, but no. There's something about cycling that I really just don't enjoy. I don't know whether it's the thought of actually cycling on busy roads, especially where I live, it's very rural, and with the
Hmm.
country roads, the country lanes, you can never see round the corners, and you go quite fast on a bike, especially if you're going downhill, and you're very vulnerable, I think, as well. So I think the idea of that kind of just puts me off a little bit. So yeah, the Iron Man triathlons, I think, would be right up my street. They would be the perfect thing for me, but unfortunately, I'm not a fan of cycling, which is by far the biggest part of it. So yeah, sorry to disappoint, but not quite. It'll just be swimming and running, I think. So
You
yeah,
see,
swim runs. I don't know if you've ever heard of a swim run before, but I want to get into them.
perfect. Now, just going over a few of these phrases, the idea of cycling puts you off doing a triathlon. Put off can mean to postpone. You can put off the meeting, for example, but it also means like to discourage someone from doing something, or maybe to make someone not like something. So you don't like cycling, so this part of a triathlon puts you off doing it. And another thing you said is that a swim run would be right up your street, which is like it's kind of your thing. It's your cup of tea. It's something that you're interested in or that you like. Cool. Well, unlike you, the reason why I wouldn't do a triathlon is because of the swimming. Because I like running. I'm fairly good at running. I like cycling. I have, I don't know, I enjoy being on a bike. So I'd kind of like to do a triathlon at some point, but I know that I'd have such a bad time during the swim that it puts me off wanting to do a triathlon. So maybe I'll face my fear of swimming in the future, but I don't know. And it's strange because I did a lifeguard course when I was 16, so I know how to swim. I'm not the best at it, but I can get by. But no, like swimming for 7 hours, no chance. No way, Jose.
Yeah, I think with swimming being the first, I guess, discipline that you do of the race, if you start off on a bad foot or start off on a bad note, then that can ruin the rest of your race. If you are grumpy, unhappy, miserable, maybe slightly annoyed that you've just had to swim, then yeah, it might dampen your spirits for the rest of the race. It might put you in a bad mood.
No, agreed 100%. Now, anyway, that was an interesting little diversion. But now let's go back to these phrasal verbs and we'll just do one each. So I believe it's your turn to pick one of them. I'll answer and then I'll ask you one more and we'll wrap up.
Hmm. Ooh. Okay, about three-quarters of the way down, have you ever had to hand in a project or homework late? What happened?
My memory isn't the best, to be honest, but I remember when I was at uni that you'd always have these different assignments, and I never really enjoyed most of them. I liked speaking when I was at uni doing languages, and I liked training and learning, but I didn't like any written kind of work like essays and stuff like that. And I remember there was one module, I can't remember what it was, but it was related to like um, Spanish literature or something similar. And I remember I really couldn't think of any ideas at all. So What I did, actually, is I didn't submit it late, so I'm kind of avoiding this question a little bit, but I cheated. And I cheated because at that moment I had already met my fiance, and she's Spanish. And I had to write about a building in Madrid. And I was like, oh, I've no idea what to do. If you don't give me a hand, I'm going to fail or I'm going to hand it in late. So luckily, she did give me a hand, and she's very creative and very good at writing. So she ended up actually writing half of it. And then I did hand it in on time and I got a really, really good mark. So, yes, I'm not answering the question exactly, but that flashback has just come to me thinking, like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. If you don't help me, I'm going to fail. And she did help me, and I got a good mark. So thank you.
And the rest is history.
Exactly. But yeah, usually I did hand everything in on time because, I'm a good boy.
Nice. Yeah, me
So
too. Yeah, I always try to get ahead, so to start early and be ahead of the game with my work. There were lots of people that would pull all-nighters, so stay up all night doing work to hand in an assignment last minute, and yeah, that's not for me. So yeah, I don't think I've ever handed anything in late either.
it's just stressful, isn't it?
It is. Maybe in school, I think because school was less important. Well, homework was less important than a university assignment. But yeah, there we go.
Exactly. Perfect. Now let's move on to the last question. So, how about which one should I go for? The next one. I'm not very creative here. I just always go one up or one down. So, what's a habit you'd like to cut down on this year or in the near future? What habit would you like to reduce?
Scrolling. I don't know if Instagram is a habit, but definitely just scrolling, getting stuck, doom scrolling. So just endlessly scrolling to into nothingness. And yeah, I'm very bad with that. The algorithm works very well on me. Maybe I'm just an easy target. That is definitely something I want to reduce or cut back on. So yeah, especially in the evenings, right before bed. Would you say you are a scroller, Lewis, or are you very well behaved?
I mean, I've actually started doing something recently which is kind of helping with my consumption online. And I have deactivated all Instagram notifications. So I never get any like push notifications on my phone. So I will check my phone, and obviously I use Instagram every single day, every hour almost. But since I deactivated notifications, I use it a little bit less because it doesn't distract me in the moment when I receive a notification for the number of likes or a new comment or a new direct message. I just check it maybe between classes. I check it at the end of the day. And yes, I do still scroll up and down. But I think since I did that, it has been reduced slightly. So I have cut down on my Instagram use slightly in the last couple of months. Is it something you reckon you could do or that you're curious about trying?
Yeah, I think I need to take a leaf out of your book and copy you, learn from you a little bit. Maybe that's a good tip, a good trick that will help with my bad habit.
Clay, you've got this, Finn. I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, anyway, that's a wrap. We will wrap up there. Hopefully you enjoyed this little class podcast chit chat. We used a lot of advanced words, phrases, and phrasal verbs. So if anything's unclear to you, let us know in the comments and we'd be happy to clarify it for you, to clear it up for you. And yeah, Finn, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was fun.
A pleasure as always. So thank you, everybody, and see you next time.
See you
Bye
later.
bye.